I want to motivate you today. And so what we have to do is for us to move, when you hear me talk about the word move, I'm going to be referencing these four words. So when we want to move, the first thing it says, motivate your members or lose momentum. You understand we have to have momentum because momentum is where our power is at. Once you start doing some good things, once you start moving forward and making progress, and if you ever had a battering ram, you was trying to get into the door, the way that we knock that door down, the way that we knock down that enemy is having high momentum. But if we aren't willing to motivate our members, we won't be able to do it. We won't be able to move it as efficiently as we could if we weren't using the momentum that we had to move from one level to the next. Now, there's a number of different ways that people get motivated. Let me show you a couple of them. All right, so the first person to make it up here, I'm giving this $20 to. First person. Oh, y'all rich. Y'all act like y'all ain't got gas. Okay, he moved. Was motivated. All right, the first person to come up here and get this car, I'll give a free shirt to. All right, what I need you to do is put your information, your shirt size, and I'll make sure I get that to you, all right? Now we come across this thing where we try to motivate people when we try to use different things like money and we try to use material and merchandise. But let me show you one last way. If you love your children and or your family, stand on your feet. You see, we had a little bit of people come and try to get some of the money. We had a little people try to come and try to get some of the merchandise. But when you have meaning, it means much more. When it's something that is inside of you and inside of your heart, you will stand up. I didn't have to convince you or coax you into doing anything. When it was something that meant something to you, you moved. You are motivated. So we have to understand that we can do things and try to motivate people from moving from where they are to where they need to be by motivating them with things that are meaningful. There's this statement that Stephen Covey says in the book, you can have your seats, in the book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it talks about you can buy a person's back, but you cannot buy their mind. You can buy a person's hands, but you cannot buy their heart. We need to make sure that we are doing meaningful things to the people that we're expecting to be a part of this safety culture, to be a part of the movement that we're trying to make. We have to begin to take just our safety, not from our job, just not from our hands, but to our hearts. And when we are doing things that are meaningful to people, they are more apt to be a part of what we're trying to do. See, money motivates, yes. I can get your hands. The materials things will make you move, but until it's something that it means to you, till we understand that I'm obligated to help other people, until I understand that safety is more than just this 8-hour day, then I will be able to move. We have to make sure that we're motivating those members, because if you don't have those members, if we lose that motivation, we lose the momentum that we have as we're progressing towards the final goal that we're trying to get to. So the next thing I said is obliterate. Say obliterate. It says obliterate obstacles or lose optimism. Understand we have to have optimism because we run into a lot of things that will challenge us. We run into a lot of different situations that's going to make you want to give up. You're going to experience a lot of things that when you request it, they're going to tell you no. There's a lot of things that you're going to experience that is going to get in your way. But we have to be willing to move and try our best to obliterate those options. We want to make people understand, if you don't have optimism, you don't have hope. You don't know that we can do this. And if we allow obstacles to come into the way and those different things to come into the way and make us lose sight of what we're trying to do, then those people who are on your team trying to make things happen will lose sight as well. So we want to make sure that we're obliterating those obstacles. And there's different types of ways we can obliterate those obstacles. It's by organizing. We can organize. You have to have a plan of attack when you're doing anything. Having a plan to move forward. Having a plan to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing when we're supposed to be doing. The next one, it says you have to obligate. You have to obligate people. Safety is an obligation, not an option. It is an obligation. We owe it to one another to be a part of safety, to care for your well-being, to make sure that you understand that I'm in this for the long haul with you. The next one says we have to optimize. Say optimize. You have to optimize the people that you have. Again, if we're all the safety man one as one individual, we all do different things, but we have to optimize the people that we have, the skills that we have, the things that they are best at. A lot of times you'll see in the Gallup poll where they're asking the question where they say, hey, are you given the opportunity to do the best thing every day? And a lot of times we are not optimizing the gifts of the people that we may have. Understand, people are amazing. And if we are able to tap into them, give them some meaning, if we're able to motivate them, we can get them from where they are to where they need to be. And the next one is, again, optimizing to make sure that everybody understands that we want you to be the best you. Because if I can make you the best you, I can place you somewhere that we know that your skills will go through the roof and help us move forward. The next one is validate. Everybody say validate. This one is very important. Let me make sure I touch on this because, again, taking 100% responsibility for your actions and making zero excuses, it helps along with the whole obliterate because we can't make excuses. You have to be responsible for yourself and the things that you're supposed to do. So say it again now. Say validate. You have to validate your values or you will lose your vision. And it is so important to have vision because vision shows people where you're going, where we plan on being. And if you lose the vision, you'll lose the people. But if you lose the people, you'll lose the vision. We need everybody to do their part. And we have to make sure that we're supporting that vision. Helen Keller was born with all of her sight and all of her senses. But when she was struck with scarlet fever, she lost everything. She lost her sight. Not everything, but she lost her sight for sure. And one of the statements that she said that resonated with me said, the one thing that is worse than being blind is having sight and no vision. You can see, but you have no vision. Vision is important because it takes people from where they are to where they need to be. And the way that we want to get people to continue to follow that vision is that we have to validate our values. Now we have to understand that safety is a value, not a priority. Priorities change, values stay the same. But people will not believe you if you are not sold, if you don't validate yourself with those values. If you don't say, hey, we have to make it verbal. You have to say it. People hear you say one thing, but you also have to follow up. Those things have to be visual. I think that's why it's a key thing where within the VPP process that they have signage. Because people need to see. Sometimes we forget. Has anybody ever forgotten anything? So sometimes we need to see what we're trying to do. There has to be, again, that verbal, that common language where everybody is saying the same thing so we understand where we're moving. So even if you don't know what's going on, you're still saying those words that everybody else is saying. And the visual showing everybody. But you also have to make it vivid. You have to make it present. You have to make it so obvious that people say, hey, we're not just saying this, we're not just showing you this, but we're doing it. That means if I'm going to write you up for not wearing your safety glasses, if the VP come through, you better write him up the same way. We have to show that we're proving it. Now, the one thing we want to do is make sure that we're supporting our VPs and they ain't coming in so that they'll be in a predicament which they say, oh, well, you ain't say something to him. You didn't make them put their shoes on. Again, I come from an hourly perspective, and so I've seen a lot of things where people will challenge you and say, hey, man, why are they telling me to do this? But they just took a whole tour through here, and all of them had dress shoes on. How you going to tell me to do this, that, and the other, but you are not acting on those things that you're requiring me to do? So if you have values, if you're setting values, and you're saying, hey, this is something that we are going to stand on and that we stand beside, you have to make it vivid, make it real. Stand by it. Be by it. Don't let anything move you from it. There's a statement again that by Theodore Roosevelt says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We've had enough of people telling us things. How many of you guys got that one friend that as soon as they open their mouth, you know they're lying? Don't look at them. Don't look at them. But everything they say, you know, as soon as they open their mouth, whatever's going to proceed is probably a lie. Yeah, man, I went whole Bourbon Street in a minute. You did? Yeah, I also caught a 100-pound goldfish and hit a hole-in-one on a par 5. Just lying. And when we do things like that and we share, people say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to have this, this is what we believe in, but then have no action, we become that lying friend. And we don't want to be in that predicament. So we want to make sure that we are doing what we say we're going to do and validate what we say we're going to do. The next thing is elevate. Everybody say elevate. When you elevate, we have to elevate engagement or you lose everything. You have to raise your level of engagement or you lose everything. Because again, if you never ever get involved, everything that you've done before is nothing. If we take the ideas and we take the things that we've done and the things that we have, and we never engage and we never elevate them and take them to the next level, we will lose everything. If you build something one day, eventually, if you keep that same item over time, that thing that you had initially will deteriorate and go away. You have to constantly be moving, constantly be improving, constantly elevating. So I want to challenge you to elevate your expectations. We're committed, but our expectation level need to go up. We know where we have and how people may act, but we can expect more. But if we're going to expect more of others, you better expect more of yourself. If you're willing to do what you're supposed to do, to go where you need to go, to be committed, then you can share with people, say, okay, I expect you to do this. But don't try to tell somebody to do something and then you never do it. My mama always told me, say, don't you ever say that you're going to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. So we have to be willing to put our hearts in it if we're willing to raise that level of expectation. But the next thing that we can do to elevate to the next level is experience. Include experience. You may not have been there. You may have never done it, but somebody has. We need to make connections. That's why we here at the VPPA, you making network connections to learn from other people who has had that success. I went down to Nucor Steel in Gallatin in Kentucky a while ago. Man, they have an excellent program going on down there. You have to create partnerships with people who are excelling, people who have accomplished what you're trying to do. Don't try to be so stubborn and so creative that you neglect those people who already have the knowledge and you just suffer along the way and you extend the time that it could have took if you would have just asked the question. So we want to make sure that we're using that experience. But we also, again, the heart of engagement is execution. You got to do it. Can't say it. We got to execute. Execute, execute, execute. Because if we don't do it, if we don't move, we're going to lose. We got to refuse to lose, ladies and gentlemen. There's a statement by somebody that we don't even know who said it. It says, two things define you. And I say define you as a leader. It says your patience when you have nothing and your attitude when you have everything. One of the things that I told you before is about obliterating. If you can't destroy it, distract them. If you can't get past that obstacle, just distract them with the positive things that we have seen and the positive things that we have done. We have to be willing to understand that you're not going to have everything that you want. We can't increase the budget today. You may not have the tools that you need, but my foreman always told me, if you're going into a battle and you're waiting on some M16s to show up, but all you got is sticks and the enemy's coming, you better grab a branch. You got to use what you have to make it work, to try to move from where you are to where you need to be. Again, elevating is not always just moving to the next level, but it may be moving in your mind. We can do this. Keeping that obstacle, the optimism in your mind, knowing that we don't have to be where we are always. We can do more. We can be more. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Safety Man movement, what I'm talking about. We want to put the move in movement. The Safety Man movement was never just supposed to be a presentation, but it was to provoke in you a desire to move from where you are to where you see yourself in the future. To take that next step, whether it's just one step or more. But again, the Safety Man movement has always been about caring, but you have to care enough to move. You have to care enough to motivate your people. You have to care enough to obliterate those obstacles. You have to care enough to validate those values and live by them. And you have to care enough to elevate your expectations and the things that you're trying to accomplish. You have to be ready to empower. You have to give people the tools they need to be able to move. If I want you to move, I need to give you the tools you need to be able to motivate, to obliterate, to validate, to be able to elevate yourself. We want to make sure that we give them those things. And again, we want to join forces with the movers and the shakers. You're in the room with them people right now. Those people who want to make a difference. Those people who can move you from where you are to where you need to be. Who can help you motivate, obliterate, validate, and elevate. And lastly, it says we want to enlarge where we move in at. What you might be doing might be too small. You might be comfortable, again, because you got everything in your little corner. But we want to make sure that we are sharing with other people. So that means when we go to you, don't be selfish to try to hold back anything because you want to be the only one who's successful like you are. But we have to be willing to enlarge the areas in which we are moving, motivating other companies, motivating other divisions within your company, motivating other people, moving, helping them obliterate their challenges, helping them validate and make real in their hearts that safety is really first. And they can, at that point, begin to elevate to the next level.